Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our time together today. I'm Lori Lamantia, and I'm here with the wonderful Trisha Fisk.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, everyone. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of a somewhat heavy topic, but I think in the long run, it's going to be a very freeing topic because we're going to talk about that we can't deny grief. We can't deny the grief that we've experienced, the grief that it wants to flow through us. There's a reason why we have grief, and it's for release. It's to help us move forward and through trauma, hurt, re- rejection, so many things that seem to happen in the dualistic 3D world. And a lot of times we don't want to deal with it. And I get it. I don't like dealing with it either. It's painful, it's exhausting, it can be overwhelming. Grief, I know you guys have all felt it who's listening. It's just a pain in the ass. Um, but there's also something really valuable and powerful. And so it was Trisha who wanted to talk about this, and I think I'm totally supportive of it. And so she had a thing that happened came over the weekend that brought it up. But I do want to say that in that through this talk that I'm hoping we're going to do today, you're going to allow yourself to move through grief versus stuff it because your body will try and store it and deal with it for you, but it's not going to go away. It's just going to get stuffed. And so part of the real message here is when you realize you have grief, let it flow through you so your body can release it and let it go and let the emotional component go so your body can physically heal and be released of it and not have to store it. That would be my key message. But I think Trish, let's switch over to you and say why you came to this and how you would frame it right now.
Right. Yeah. So it's been quite a year for me. I discovered my next door neighbor. He was in his 80s, but I found him on the floor in his unit because I got concerned, and we had keys for each other's places just in case for things like that. I lost my sister, and my brother-in-law passed very quickly after she did, and there was a lot to deal with when
Mentally, yeah,
when
let's
these
just
things.
heal.
Well, no, but a lot of practical things to deal
Mm,
with too.
right,
Like they had a house, taking getting control of the money, a lot of practical things to
right.
deal with. And so I do a really good job of going into work mode.
Hmm.
Like I'm
Hmm.
not going to deal with my pain because I have tasks to do right now, and this
Right,
is business. This stuff has to get taken care of. And so, and I recognize it because when my mother passed, my mother had been living with me. We were doing hospice in my home, and after she passed, I got everything taken care of before I even let myself stop and think about
right.
missing
One
her.
of your superpowers.
Yes, right. Give me a to-do list, and I'm on it. Right. So I really wanted to let myself explore my grief in whatever way I could, in whatever way I could that felt okay, safe, right?
Mhm.
Because one of the things I've definitely learned is that when we block any kind of feeling or experience in our life, if we block what we define as the bad or the scary or the heavy, we're also blocking the happy and the light and the pleasant stuff. You can't choose. I'm only going to feel the stuff that makes me feel good, and I'm going to block out all the negative stuff. It isn't how we work. You either feel it all or you start to numb to it all. So I wanted to feel it, and I had heard about this wonderful movie, Hamnet, which is
Mhm.
about William Shakespeare. And I'm a Shakespeare fan. When I was in college, my favorite class, I loved taking literature classes and then writing papers. That was like my favorite thing to do in college. And I actually have this old text of all of Shakespeare's plays and
Just for
sonnets.
listening, it is old. Those pages are yellow.
Yeah, it is. It's an old book. So the Hamnet is based on the play Hamlet. And I've never been a particularly big fan of Hamlet itself, because everybody dies at the end.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, I had heard about this movie, and it's nominated for like 8 Academy Awards, and so I really wanted to see it. So I saw it with a friend. We watched it online, and it's about Hamlet has a young boy he has young twins, and you know, um, there all this curse of illness and stuff that goes through this. It's old England. And one of the things I loved about this movie is their hands are always dirty. There's
Mhm.
no scene where there isn't dirt under their fingernails. So when the scourge comes, the little girl gets it because she's weaker. And her little twin brother doesn't want her to die. So he saves her. He gets into bed with her and calls on the sickness to come into him. And he ends up dying and she ends up living. Well, it's just, I mean, and this kid's like 8 years old
Mhm.
and it's beautiful. And then, of course, the parents are really mad at each other and blaming each other, which is not unusual. And so Shakespeare rewrites Hamlet and he writes it as a way to deal with the grief he's feeling from his son passing. And
Mhm.
it's beautiful. Like I said, I never was a big fan of Hamlet, and the movie does a great job of editing down scenes. So it's how we have to deal with the pain of death because it is painful. And part of it was they showed how painful this was for this little boy. He didn't just pass out and die. I mean, they really got into that part of it. And then in Hamlet, um, Shakespeare, who plays the role of the ghost who's dead, and I'm not going to go into the whole story of what Hamlet's about, but he explores that death is painful. But like the final line that Hamlet says, and I looked it up in my book just to make sure it really is from Hamlet and they didn't change it, but that you go through all this pain in it, but then the rest is silence. And that opened up my heart. It opened up my heart because how often do we talk about divine experience, meditative experience, transcendence, where we reach this place of silence. And yet, the silence is just our mind finally getting quiet. But within this space, there is everything. There's prana shakti, there's life force, there's heart. Um, and so I was able to hold, and for me, this is very personal, my sister's passing with grace. She
Mhm.
had been so sick and having all these seizures, and she finally got silenced.
Right.
And yeah, a good cry had a great cry
Mhm.
and felt lighter. And I feel, and I'm going to say this, I don't care what anybody else thinks, I feel her around me now. I feel like my acceptance of her passing and recognizing that it was a gift and not a punishment for anything. Thank you,
Mhm.
Catholic school. Um, was beautiful.
Wow. Wow. You know, it's interesting. You said that you couldn't feel her around you. And I really respect that what you just said was, somehow our grief and our overwhelmment creates a little bubble around us, and that love can't get to us or that person. We talk about that with a lot of with abundance too. Everything, love, life, the joys, the graces, it has a hard time getting to us when we're bubbling up, and denying the grief is a version of
Right.
bubbling up on some level.
Right. And yet we talk about all these sacred spaces where we connect with the divine. I mean, I'm guilty of that. And yet I'm beginning to understand that I'm still defining it in a way I want it to be.
Mm.
Um, and
And
yet,
let me just honor that because I understand, and this we all do this, right? We're trying so hard to protect ourselves and
yes,
make sense of the not the nonsensical, and if anybody's watching even a blip of the news, it just feels like that we're trying to make sense of something that's completely nonsensical to our innocence. And so we create all these cap I'll call them capabilities, but reactions, and to do the best we can to move through life. So I really want to give you tremendous compassion and appreciation that, it's okay to have these things that we do in order to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, do what we need to do. And how people choose that, I've just been fascinated by,
right,
Um, and I understand, I'm just trying to have so much more understanding about, and this is going to be my point, that underneath all these capabilities that we've created for ourselves is this innocence that's trying to protect itself because it knows it is love and love is the only thing. But because I was watching my dad this weekend and I was like, why is he doing that? This weird thing that he's doing. He's going after somebody in a weird way, not a weird way. And I realized it's because it's his innocence trying to give love as best as it could. And it's weird, what I quote unquote would judge weird way, and so like you were saying, how do we allow people to have their moments without us judging them and allow us to have our grief about all of it?
right,
That's the key, because I want to cry for him. I want to cry for his innocence. I want to cry for my innocence. I want to cry for your innocence. I want to cry for your sister's innocence. And how we end up taking all this in, we don't know what to do with it. We get all these things we figure out, but those are the best we can do, I guess is my point.
yeah. It's just grief is part of life, and denying that keeps us from fully living our life.
Yeah, and fully connect, allowing the vitality to flow through. I was taking a class last week and it was by a chiropractor, and the chiropractor was saying that all these adjustments we do to the physical body is to release the emotional stuff. 90% of it is emotion locked up, kinked in there. All our energy is
Right,
kinked up in our bodies. And so the alignments, when done in love, are about returning to completeness and wholeness, not fixing the broken, but realigning and letting the grief, the worry, the fear, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the rejection go, unkinking so that life force, that powerful life force can flow through us. And when
right,
we grieve and we stuff it, kink, 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 kink. Just look at a hose and watch it kink up, you know? And we do that over and over, and then we process it. Of course, we're going to cry, or of course, we're going to rage, or of course. The key is to do it, not rage at something, but rage and release and unkink. And that's why what you said about we can't deny grief. It's going to flow. If you keep denying it, it's going to get blocked up,
hmm
period.
right. I have a dear friend she's a cancer survivor, and her thing, whenever there's something going on in your body, a pain, a blockage, a break, or whatever, she insists you give it love, you name it, and you ask it what the lesson is. What am I supposed to learn from this? Not why I'm being punished for this, or, but what am I supposed to learn from you? And love it deeply. And right, invite all of your life in. Well, I have to say too that yoga helps with that as well. Yoga helps release. My class last Saturday, I had a woman who just started coming when the year started, and she came up to me because she said, every time I'm in Shavasana, I cry. What's going on? Yeah, why am I doing that? And I just gave her a hug and said, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Good for
That's
you. Yeah.
wonderful. You're
Yeah.
releasing, and you don't have to analyze what it is, but you're
Oh,
releasing
yeah, you're unkinking.
painful, right? Painful stuff. Just let go with it.
And I would, the one thing I would add to the
Mm.
learn lesson is learn the love lesson. There is some part of you that was trying to love or be loved. I think that
Mhm.
innocent part is the part that, and if we could, because I'm just going to speak for myself. When I think about lessons, I think I did something wrong and now I got to fix
Right.
it. And, I was dumb and now I better get smart. I think we aren't kind to ourselves when we use the word lesson. So
Right.
I just want to throw a little word of caution that it's not so much to me lately, it's not so much the lesson, it's where was I trying to love or be loving? Where did I get hurt? And then what did I do as a defense mechanism to deal with that? And
Right.
then, oh, I get it. And and a lot of times we get great ones, like you hunker down and you become the get it done lady. Awesome. That's a skill set that meant, people would be crazy for and appreciate. And like you're doing now, you get it done and then you come back around and do the emotional releasing and in all fairness, it does. It comes up to you. As soon as you're in a quiet moment watching a movie, you're in a quiet moment watching, a TV show, and it's just gonna burst out. Thank you, like you said. Congratulations. So
All
that's one
right.
of one of the reasons why I think we were wanted to talk about this today because that free flow of energy and there's a lot of grief going. If I When I look around, there's a lot for me to be. I feel myself wanting to cry a lot, and I'm not going to stuff it. I'm just going to say I understand why I feel like crying and grieving and not deny it so that my body doesn't stick it somewhere that I got to deal with later.
Right. And of course, I have a poem that I'd love to read it by Mary
Awesome.
Oliver. It's called Heavy by Mary Oliver.
Mm.
That time I thought I could not go any closer to grief without dying. I went closer and I did not die. Surely God had his hand in this, as well as friends. Still, I was bent, and my laughter, as the poet said, was nowhere to be found. Then, said my friend Daniel, brave even among lions, it's not the weight you carry, it's how you carry it. Books, bricks, grief. It's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it when you cannot and would not put it down. So I went practicing. Have you noticed? Have you heard the laughter that comes now and again out of my startled mouth? How I linger to admire, admire, admire the things of this world that are kind and maybe also troubled. Roses in the wind, the sea geese on the steep waves, a love to which there is no reply.
Nice. Courageous to go in.
Right. So learn to carry your bricks, your books, your grief. Embrace it.
Yeah, and then they kind of they might just be put down at some point. Thank you all for listening. We wish you a lot of love. And know there is a lot of love around
Yes.
you in every way, right?
And learn to love yourself. Yes.
Yes,
Self compassion.
lots of
Right.
compassion. Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Monday.